Okay, welcome back to our second session on social media marketing. And we want to kick it off with Ian Humphreys here to talk to us about branded content.
Hi, how's everyone doing? Wow, it's an echoing voice, at least in my own ear. So my name's Ian Humphreys. I'm from an agency called Caliber, and I'm going to talk to you guys about B2B content marketing, talk you through a bit of a case study, and a little bit about what we do as an agency, but I'll be very brief, and then kind of talk about some of the things that we do in B2B content marketing kind of to have success. And hopefully, if you are involved in content marketing or marketing in general, you can take some of these learnings and apply it to your own practice. So, just a little bit about Caliber and who we are. Caliber was founded in 2008 by a guy called Johnny Scott. And we were initially an SEO agency, and now we see ourselves a bit broader, probably as we call ourselves an organic marketing agency. And we've got offices in Edinburgh, London, and recently we started an office in Dubai. So I started my career actually as a copywriter, and as assistant copywriter up in very rainy Edinburgh. Moved and worked in a lot of different areas, and eventually got shipped out to Dubai in 2013. And I think when I came out to Dubai, I didn't even really know where it was. And in the past year and a half, I've learned a lot about the market in the Middle East. So Caliber, we work with a variety of brands. We work with Pay For It, Faisal and Nardina there, and I'm going to talk about our work with them. But we also work with some pretty big companies, including Tesco, who I'm sure you've heard of, is a major supermarket in the UK, HSBC, Orbitz, Expedia, and here we also work with a Greco, which you guys probably have never heard of, but they're the largest supplier of power generators in the world. So we do some B2B content for them as well. So I'm going to give you guys a bit of a case study about what we've done with Pay For It, and Pay For It are a sponsor here, so I'm sure you've encountered them. But before I do so, does everyone know what content marketing is? If I use that term, is that something you guys are all familiar with? So just to kind of make sure we're all clear, when I refer to content marketing, what we're talking about is creating content, whether that's a blog, whether that's an infographic, and essentially giving it away for free. And we're giving it to our target consumer, and we're hoping that, yeah, eventually, someday they're going to buy something from us. But in the short term, we're looking to educate them. We're looking to help them with the aim that they will develop, I guess, what marketers call in very marketer speak, brand affinity, so that they essentially like you. And that's the idea behind content marketing. We want our target audience to become friends with the brand, to start to rely on that brand for interesting and useful content. So we work with Pay For It, and I'm going to talk about some of the keys to our success, but I'll tell you kind of what we've done and what are the results. We work really closely together with them, and we co-write and we co-create with them. And we have weekly blog posts. There's probably one that went up about like 5 minutes ago. You should all check out. And we also create infographics and do a variety of other small content pieces. And as time goes on, we're going to do more and more complex pieces. And the results have been really excellent. When you're looking at a B2B audience, we obviously have something, it's a much smaller audience than B2C. However, we're getting an average of 172 shares, increasing traffic month on month, and our content is actually getting picked up by other influencers in the region. So WAMDA, Arabian Business, they're picking up our content. And sometimes that's because we go out and we get in touch with them, which is great. But other times it's because they're actually finding our content themselves and we just see it go up, which is really interesting to see. I think probably the most interesting but not metric-based result is that we're starting to see people actually engaging with Pay For It in the offline world. Faisal, who's sitting there, gets lots of emails from people, which comes from the blog, people who want to start partnership, people who want to do business with Pay For It. And that comes from a lot of different areas, but it's excellent to see. Now, one of our focuses in this campaign is to take Pay For It and to make them a thought leader, which for some clients is really difficult. So what we're trying to do is make them really hard. For Pay For It, it's actually really easy because you have a very established, very interesting company with people who know the market very well. So you've got guys like Omar Sadudi, who's really knows this region. And what our job is quite simple, is to take that expertise and to put it into a format that's shareable, that we can distribute through content marketing and social media, etc. So in this case, a lot of our work is actually done for us. So it's very easy. And if you're going to be working in this kind of area in content marketing, what your challenge is to find what's the expertise and thought leadership in my organization. How can I engage with the people internally and kind of help get that out there and put it into a blog post, an infographic, whatever the result may be. So, excuse me. There's a lot of things that you need to do to be good at content marketing, and it's actually a tremendous amount of work. And I'm going to talk about, just to boil it down to 3 things, because I only have a little bit of time for you, about what I think have made a big difference for us, and sometimes with specific reference to our campaign with Pay For It, but also more broadly, because we've done this type of content marketing for many clients here in the Middle East, but also internationally. So I've put up there kind of a basic process for how we do content marketing. And there's many different ways you can do it, but it's essentially you're starting with understanding who our target market is, boiling that down into a strategy, and kind of cup and roll, they talked about the importance of creating a strategy, and I couldn't agree more. That leads into execution. So I kind of saw on the Twitter feed they were talking about video content, and I saw one tweet that I thought was really pertinent, is that you should use the type of content that best achieves your goals, which is absolutely true. And then you go into promotion, which often looks like social media promotion or influencer outreach. And then you reach, to me, is the most important and often forgotten stage, which is analysis. And I'm going to talk about analysis in detail later. But what I think is really important is that when we work with our clients in an ideal situation, you don't go, okay, Caliber does steps 2 and 4, the client does the rest, and we all have like our discrete parts. And to me, that doesn't work, because A, things move really, really slowly, and also you lose so much. As an agency, we come and we are external, and we have to learn about the brand. And when we work with clients who are really engaged and kind of take a great deal of ownership of it, and we start to work like partners rather than agency client, that's when we actually get results. And I was talking to my team in the UK and looking at some of our different results across all of our work. And that to us is kind of one of the key differentiators between a good campaign and a bad campaign. And I think with Pay For It, it's been really interesting because it doesn't feel like we're an agency, they're a client. It feels like we're just a team that's working on this together. And if we succeed together. And if we fail, and everyone fails in marketing, we do that together. Communication is really important, and I mean, everyone's got a million emails. I'm sure you guys are all stressed because you're at a conference and you have like 150 unread emails. And we're trying really hard to move away from email as a communication tool for this type of project. I've got up there Trello, which I've heard a lot of people talking about. I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It's, from my perspective, the best tool for this type. It gives you the opportunity to have little cards, so I would encourage you to check it out. For internal communication, also Slack is a really good tool, and a lot of kind of the major software development companies in the US and other markets are using it. So those are 2 really good tools, but I think it's really important that they're tools. Like, we could use Trello all we want, and we wouldn't have good communication. So it's very important that if you have a challenge, if you aren't communicating, you pick up the phone, you meet in person, because the best tools in the world aren't going to substitute for actually connecting and understanding each other as partners. So I talked a little bit about how you share success and failures, and I think that's really important. And I also talked about the analysis stage, and it is the most important thing, because although I've worked in content marketing for 4 years, I don't know everything about it. and I don't know everything about every single client or every single campaign, and no one does. And you don't understand your target market as well as everyone would like to. So what we do at Caliber is that we create posts, and we do it progressively over time, and we categorize them into different types. So I've got behind editorial, ego baiting, and infographics, and those are just 3 sample posts you have for you. Now, the categories aren't important, but the process of categorizing them in that way and then tracking it. So over time, I can understand that if we do an infographic, we're likely to get these results, and if we do an editorial piece, we're probably likely to get worse results. And that means that I can change my campaign. I can make it more effective over time. And that's the sign of a good campaign to me. It's not one that starts off as a roaring success, but one that delivers a better return on investment every single month. Now, when you do find that something isn't working well, it doesn't mean that you should abandon it, but if you see, like in this example, that editorial isn't really flying for you, what you want to do is use analysis to understand how you can make it more effective. Some of the tools we use, Google Analytics is great. SumoMe is a kind of an interesting tool that combines eye tracking software, also allows you to make a few little tools. We really like Crazy Egg, and if you are engaged in e-commerce, whether it's content marketing or just marketing, I'd say that, so I'll get out of the way so you can take pictures. Crazy Egg is something that you install, or some form of eye tracking software. It's really cool actually to see what your customers are doing and what's attracting them to certain bits of your website. Group High is maybe in a slightly different field, but it's about identifying influencers. So if you want to know, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, if you want to know who are the influencers in your space, Group High will actually allow you to find a list of them, and you can then start to approach them. So as I talk about influencers, that's actually my 3rd and final point that I think is the most important part. And Cup and Roll kind of said it better than me. You know, they engaged with an influencer on day 1, and that gave them some credibility. It gave them some exposure. And I think that's really valid. So if you're engaged in content marketing or even social media marketing, it's really, really important to use a tool like Group High, study who are the influencers, and then make a very a determined effort to engage them. So just to give you a little example, and going back to pay for it, we do have a series called Entrepreneur of the Month, where we take someone from like one of you guys, like an influencer in the SMEs in the Middle East, and we interview them. And we found that these were performing better than our normal posts. So we thought, okay, influencer engagement works. Let's try profiling 6 companies at once instead of 1. And we found that, yeah, that actually worked kind of 6 times better than just profiling 1 company. And then Faisal had a great idea, and he's like, okay, let's do 100 Twitter influencers and make a list of that. And I was like, oh my God, that's gonna be so hard. And we spent hours and hours and hours, and we researched this enormous list, and the results were significant, and they were fantastic. We had about 900 shares on it. And I think there's kind of 2 lessons in that, and the one is that good content marketing is actually really hard. If you write a blog post and you're like, oh, that was easy, it only took me like an hour and a half, it's probably not going to get you very good results. But if you go through the hard work and create or curate something that doesn't already exist, you're likely to find that people share it, that it resonates with the audience. And also, influencer engagement just works. It means that you can essentially tap into someone else's audience. So you'll find that this person has a really, really strong audience, and by getting them to tweet out your blog post because it features them or ego baits them, you will get a larger and larger audience. So I couldn't encourage this tactic enough. So when you think of influencer engagement or all the things I've talked about, it's probably, I guess you're picturing me like wearing a hoodie behind a screen typing with the team, and that's actually accurate. But content marketing and digital marketing, I really think we need to get out of our offices and out of our computers and away from our tablets, because engaging with someone on Twitter or whatever is not as effective as actually engaging with people in real life. And the best content that we create and the best engagements we have come when we actually go out and meet people and have a cup of coffee, interview them in person or on like a Google Hangout or something. That real interaction is so powerful. And I guess the one takeaway I would also give you from that is that, yes, it will help you make stronger relationships with your influencers and with your customers. But one of the coolest side effects of content marketing is that you actually learn more about your audience. And you engage with them on Twitter, you engage with them in person, you write blog posts and see what they like. And you get to see, okay, this is actually what my audience needs. And I actually know real life examples, and they're not just an abstract idea to me, they're something real because I know them. And that's a really powerful thing and a really nice element of content marketing. So that's everything. Does anyone have any questions? Hey.
First, thanks for the presentation, it's amazing.
Cheers.
So based on your experience in content marketing, I know that there's not one ideal answer to that question, but what are the KPIs that you care mostly about in terms of content marketing? So I know some clients or content marketing websites, they care about bounce rate, for instance, or time on site. Others care about shares per post. And so what are the KPIs that would allow you mostly to go viral and increase your website traffic?
So I guess, so you want to increase traffic, if that's what you're trying to do, then what you probably want to do is, you can see social shares be a good KPI to work to, because we found that in this market, social shares, especially through Facebook, drive a lot of traffic. So you might consider that to be one KPI. Another one also is email conversions. So it's always good to, whenever you have a marketing activity, to have a conversion that you associate it with it, right? So if you have the chance to build a mailing list, and if you'll see it, pay for it, if you go to the blog, you can sign up to join that mailing list. And you bring in users, and then they sign up, and then they'll get each new blog post or each new piece of content delivered to them. And that actually surprises me because it drives quite a lot of traffic. I think that might change in the future as people get email marketing kind of becomes less effective, which I anticipate it will. But I think those are two good KPIs to work to, aside from the obvious one, which in your case would be page views, right? So that would be 3 good KPIs in your case. Does that make sense? Cool. Done. Cool. All right. Thank you very much.